Hello and welcome to this tutorial in which I'm going to talk to you about factorizing quadratic expressions of the form ax squared plus bx plus c, where a, b and c are all real numbers. An example of such an expression is 2x squared plus 7x plus 6. And you can see that these real numbers here, 2, 7 and 6, are equivalent to a, b and c, and a cannot be equal to 0 because now this expression is no longer quadratic if a is equal to 0. Before we factorize this expression, I want to take you back to your previous work where you have been asked to expand expressions such as 2x plus 3 multiplied by x plus 2. In this work, you have said that each term in the first bracket has to multiply each term in the second bracket. So if I go ahead and do that, we will say 2x multiplied by x, and this will give us 2x squared. The 2x multiplied by the 2 will give us plus 4x. 3 multiplied by x will be positive 3x, and doing the same thing here will give us a positive 6. And then if we simplify this, we are going to end up with 2x squared plus 7x plus 6. You will notice that 2x squared plus 7x plus 6 is actually equivalent to 2x plus 3 multiplied by x plus 2. So we say that this line here is the factor form of 2x squared plus 7x plus 6. Now, the focus of this tutorial is to try and reverse this process. In other words, how do we, given 2x squared plus 7x plus 6, write it into this form here? The second line of my working out, which I'm going to call equation 1, is going to be very important in achieving this process. To demonstrate this process, I'm going to ask us to go through this question here. Question 1 will want us to factorize, Question 1 requires us to factorize 3x squared plus 5x plus 2. Now, if we consider equation 1, you will notice that if we add 4x plus 3x, the answer that we will get is equal to 7. But if we multiply these two together, 4x multiplied by 3x is going to give us a positive 12x squared. That same number, the same term, 12x squared, can be found by multiplying this 6 multiplied by this 2x squared. In other words, multiply the term in x squared with the term that is independent of x. Alright, in this current example, the term independent of x is 2, and the term in x squared is going to be 3x squared. So the product of those two is going to give us a positive 6x squared. So I'm going to write that there. Now what we want to do is find the factors of 6x squared, which when added together will give us positive 5x squared. So in other words, I want to split this middle term here, as in the previous example we split this middle term into the factors of 12x squared. In this case it was 4x plus 3x. Now the factors of 6x squared here are going to be a positive 6x multiplied by a positive x, and in this case here I will get x squared. But if I add these two together, I will get 6x plus x, and this is going to be equal to 7x. Now this is incorrect because I'm looking for factors which when added together are going to give me 5x. So I'm going to have to search for another two factors. The other two factors are going to be plus 3x multiplied by 2x, and in this case again I'm going to get a positive 6x squared. If I add the two together, it will be 3x plus 2x and this is going to be equal to 5x. Now both conditions are satisfied. 6x squared is the product of the first and the last term, and when the two factors are added together, it's going to give me 5x. So I'll go ahead and recreate that second step in the expansion. So it'll be 3x squared plus 3x plus 2x plus 2. Now you notice what I've done here. 5x has been split into 3x plus 2x. Now we're going to go ahead and factorize this by grouping the terms in pairs. You will notice that in the first pair, there's two terms here have got a common factor of 3x. So if I go ahead and pull out a 3x, I'm going to be left with x plus 1, because 3x goes into 3x times once. And then in these two remaining terms, the highest common factor is going to be equal to a positive 2. So I'll go ahead and pull out a 2, and this is going to say 2x divided by 2, it'll be x, and then 2 into 2 will also give me 1. Now you'll notice that this becomes a common factor itself, and then we can pull out that common factor. It'll be x plus 1 multiplied by, if I pull out the x plus 1 here, I'm left with 3x, so it's multiplied by 3x, plus pulling out an x plus 1 there will leave us with a positive 2, and therefore the factor form of my original expression, which is 3x squared plus 5x plus 2, is going to be equal to x plus 1 multiplied by 3x plus 2. You can easily check that if you expand this term here, these two terms here, it will return you back to our starting question. The second example is going to be this one here. We are required to factorize 6x squared minus x minus 1. As before, what I want to do is find the product of the first term, 6x squared, multiplied by the last term. In this case, it's equal to negative 1. So the product of the two is going to be equal to minus 6x squared. So now I have to find the factors of negative 6x squared, which when added together are going to give me minus x. The coefficient of x here is going to be equal to negative 1, so minus 1x. Now the factors are going to be equal to minus 3x multiplied by a positive 2x, and the answer is going to be equal to minus 6x squared. If I add the two together, minus 3x plus 2x is going to be equal to negative 1x. So both conditions are satisfied if I use minus 3x and positive 2x. The two conditions are that they multiply to give minus 6x squared, and they add to give us the middle term. So let's go ahead then and split this middle term into the two factors. So if I change the color there, the second step is going to be equal to positive 6x squared minus 3x plus 2x minus 1. Before you move on to grouping them in pairs, you want to check that these two, when they simplify, they're going to give you the negative 1x. So let's go ahead and take out common factors in pairs. So here the highest common factor is going to be 3x. Okay, let me highlight those two again for you. I'm taking these two. So the highest common factor is 3x, and it goes there 2x times minus 1. The highest common factor in the last pair is going to be equal to a positive 1, right? So positive 1, and we're going to be left with 2x minus 1. Okay, now this line here is similar to this one, where we are going to now factor out the common factor. This term here, 2x minus 1, is common in the two terms. So let's go ahead and do that. This is going to be 2x minus 1 If I take that 2x minus 1, I'm going to be left with 3x, so we write 3x there. If I take that 1 out, I'm left with the positive 1, so I'm going to write plus 1. And so this is the factor form of my starting expression. In the final example of the tutorial, I'd like us to factorize this one here, 12x squared plus 10x plus 2. I'm going to give you an opportunity to pause the video and attempt the question on your own, and then you can play it back when you're ready and compare your solution against mine. Okay, welcome back. I trust that you had some success. Let's get to it. It's very easy for you to look here and multiply the first and the last two terms that we have done before. But if you have a look at all the terms, you will notice that there's a common factor throughout of 2. And factoring out that common factor is going to ensure that you are working with a smaller number of the first and the last two terms. If you don't factor out of 2, you're looking for factors of 24x squared, which when added together will give you 10x, which I'm going to argue is a slightly bigger number than working with, say, for example, 6x squared when you factor out the 2. So I'll go ahead and do that. If I factor out a 2, I will be left with 6x squared plus 5x plus 1. Okay. Now once I've done that, I will go ahead and retrace all the steps that we have done in the last two examples to try and factorize what is inside this bracket here. So we multiply 6x squared by 1, we will get 6x squared, and we are looking for the factors of 6x squared, which when added together will give us 5x, and we saw in the first example that those factors are going to be equal to 3x plus 2x. So let me go ahead and split the middle term into those factors, and so it'll be 6x squared plus 3x plus 2x plus 1. Alright, and then I'll group in pairs and find that I'm going to introduce a square bracket. If we take out a 3x between these two, so we write 3x outside the bracket, 3x goes into 6x squared 2x times plus 3x divided by 3x is going to be equal to 1. And the last two terms, the highest common factor is going to be a positive 1, and so we are left with 2x plus 1. Okay, if I close that square bracket, now in the final step I am going to now factor out this 2x plus 1 and the 2x plus 1. So taking that out, and the first term leaves me with 3x, and in the second term that's going to leave me with a positive 1. Now getting rid of the square bracket means that I'm going to be now left with 2x plus 1 multiplied by 3x plus 1. I trust that you had some success in this question. That brings us to the end of the tutorial. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Cheers.